Welcome to a brand new episode of the Car and Bike Show. I'm Siddharth Partnkar. The show comes to you this week from Southern California. Pasadena, just outside of LA, is where we are for the annual World Car Awards Test Fest. It's a time when I get to bring you a whole lot of very cool, very exciting cars. So that's going to unfold over the next few weeks here on the show. Something to look forward to. Today you get a glimpse of this. It is the IONIQ 5 from Hyundai. It's being talked about in many markets around the world, not just because it's the first dedicated EV from Hyundai, but also because it's very, very capable and it's bloody good looking. Now, I've spent a lot of time driving this car, not just here, but also a few days ago in Germany. So there's lots to tell you. There's a very exclusive review that is coming up in just a little while. But first, let's talk about the other car that everyone's talking about. A brand new model from Maruti gets everybody's attention. You saw a glimpse of it on the show last week. The new Celerio. Here's our CNB review.
A new generation car coming from Maruti Suzuki has taken more than 2 years. And now that it's launched, it has big shoes to fill. Because the previous generation of the Celerio sold more than 590,000 units in the country and boasted of a 20% market share in the overall hatchback segment. And that's significant because it shows how popular it was. So when Maruti thought of bringing in a new gen model, the Celerio then was a no-brainer.
Now let's talk about the big changes that have come into the new generation of the Celerio. To begin with, it's longer and wider than the previous generation. And if you check out the design, that's moving away from the squarish look that the earlier generation had. That's a big thing because you have this nice flowing design rather than the boxy and squarish kind of design that you had in the earlier one. The bulging headlamps look nice, and even the exaggerated wheel arches on the side profile, they too look decent for a car like this. And then you have this one strip of chrome that goes from headlamp to headlamp, which is again just the right amount of chrome on the car. It's not splashed with chrome at all. Then you have these fog lamp housings, which again bring out a different and subtle approach to it. So it's black cladding throughout there. Notice that there are no LED DRLs on it. Now, we would have loved to have them, but it's not a deal breaker for sure.
View it in profile and you'll notice the increase in length, but you also see the tall boy stance. And those 15-inch tires do add to that appearance. Now the base model gets 14-inch wheels, and the alloy wheels that you see here are only available in the top-end model. The rear gets droplet-style taillights, which are proportionate to the car. They're not too big or small and complete the look of the car. Let's get to the cabin now. It's a more contemporary dashboard that you see here. A completely new design with some stuff that has been borrowed from its cousins. The steering and the instrument cluster, for example, comes from the Wagon-R, while the placement of the power windows on the center console is something that we've seen on the Espresso. But it's the 7-inch infotainment system that immediately grabs your attention.
Now usually it would be Sahil doing this, but he's not here, so here goes. You get quite a decent amount of features in this car. So you first and foremost see this massive 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system. It gets Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wired, yes, let's not ask for too much. Then there is the digital instrument cluster, not part analog, part digital actually, and has the orange that you just saw, around quite similar to the sunset that's happening in the background right now. So ergonomically, everything's at your reach, except for the buttons of the rear seat windows because they are right here. Having said all of that, the seats are actually well bolstered. They actually remind you of the ones that were in the Ignis because they are extremely comfortable, good, decent under thigh support and decent lumbar support as well. So that's a big plus on the Celerio.
Now onto the back seat.
So there's decent amount of space that is made available in the Celerio actually, because the wheelbase has improved over the last generation, 10 millimeters more. But with my driving position, I am still getting cramped here. Maybe people who are less tall will not face that problem. But there's decent amount of headroom. There is good shoulder room for me. Now remember, the car has gotten wider. So yes, there is good enough shoulder room. Not much in terms of features for passengers at the rear. You don't even get a USB charger. And you can seat 3 people here, of course. And the middle seat gets a lap belt. What we do miss is, adjustable headrest, because you get that in the WagonR too. Why wouldn't we have it in the Celerio? But frankly, now the WagonR is less pricier than the Celerio.
Let's get to the business end of things. The all-important question. How does it drive?
It's got good amount of power, this car. 66 bhp and offer an 89 Newton meters of torque. Now, it's not the peppiest of engine, and I didn't expect this car to be sporty. You can't expect it to be, because it's going to be your daily run car, so you don't expect it to be sporty. But I'm driving the AGS variant first, so it is a bit sluggish, the gear changes, and we expect that from an automated manual transmission. Now, the point I'm trying to make here is, even when overtaking, say on a highway or even on roads like these, it is going to take a bit of planning, because it's only after 2200 RPM that you actually get that power that you need. That said, we know for a fact that this engine has been tuned for fuel efficiency, because that's the biggest USP of this car. It is, with the AGS variant, the most fuel efficient petrol car in the country, because it gives 26.68 kilometers to the liter. And yes, that's a big plus for it.
The next gen K series engine is equipped with dual valve timing, dual injectors and cooled exhaust gas recirculation system. While the cooled EGR helps increase knocking resistance, which basically means that the fuel injection is controlled and only the required amount is burnt for propulsion, the dual injectors help with better automation of fuel. The dual VVT reduces the pumping loss, and thus these pillars help increase the fuel efficiency of the Celerio. Of course, while all these techniques are very mechanical in nature, the one that the consumer will notice is the idle start-stop, and that's standard on the Celerio, and of course, a segment first. Now, the automated manual transmission variant gets hill hold assist too, and on these mountain climbs, it did prove to be very effective. And yes, it's standard on the AMT variant. But what about the manual transmission variant?
Now, the manual is a 5-speed unit, and it is pretty good for 2 reasons. One, the clutch is light and the travel is less, and 2, the gear changes. They are quick, they are short, and they're absolutely slotted every time you put it there. So those are the 2 reasons why the manual transmission is good. In fact, it gives out good power too, and we know for a fact that this engine has been tuned to deliver better on fuel efficiency. Now, even this one pushes out more than 24 kilometers per liter. So you can understand that the gear changes need to be made immediately, because the fuel efficiency figure then moves on to be a better one. But it doesn't feel that way. And every time you shift, there is enough and more power at your disposal. And that is why it's damn good.
There's one department though that the Celerio really shines out, and that's ride quality.
Now the Celerio deals with potholes or broken tarmac with ease. It is just well sprung because, deep potholes like this one, there you go, you have a bit of lateral movement on it, but and it does disturb the cabin a bit. But smaller potholes like this, it just deals it with ease, and that's the beauty of it, because it's just well sprung. It's not too too tight or not too loose, and it's comfortable. In fact, even on nice roads like this, you get a feeling that it'll deal with broken tarmac very easily, and that for me is a big plus on a car like the Celerio.
The steering too has a good weight to it. It's not artificial and yes, very likable. And then there's the turning radius, which shows how nifty and easy it is to drive the Celerio on crammed city roads.
Now we know that once you say safety, all of you are going to jump and say, oh, where are the crash test ratings? Well, this car has been crash tested and we cannot give you those because we don't have them. Well, the car hasn't been crash tested, so clearly we can't give you that. But you know what? We asked Maruti this question and they said that the car adheres to all the protocols set by the government of India with regards to safety. That said, this car comes with the features like dual airbags, seatbelt pretensioners, ABS with EBD, and a lot more as standard equipment. So yeah, I mean, for the time being, that's the only answer we have for you.
On the price front, the Celerio is mostly at par with rivals like the Tata Tiago and Hyundai Santro. It's only the base variant of the Datsun Go that is close to a lakh cheaper than that of the Celerio. While the manual transmission battle is closely fought, in the AMT, the battle gets even tighter because the top-end ZXi Plus variant of the Celerio and the XZA Plus variant of the Tiago see a price difference of just 1,000 rupees. The new gen Celerio charms you with the space, engine refinement, and even the ride quality it has to offer. And even the price, in fact, because it is very competitive. But does it go the extra mile to convince you that it's the one to go for in that segment? From where I stand, not really. Because more could have been done, especially on the safety and features front.
So that is the latest from Maruti Suzuki. Now this is not just an energy efficient wheel, it's also very sexy, very concept car-like, and one of the many things that gets a lot of attention on the IONIQ 5. That and more is coming up in the full comprehensive review on the other side of a short break.
Hi Siddharth, congratulations on completing your 900 episodes. I'm a great fan of your work and wishing you many more to come. All the very best. Take care, stay safe. Thank you.
Sid, 900 episodes, man. Fantastic work. You never fail to amaze us. I know you work so hard for this. Just want to wish you all the best. Keep going strong. Good luck.
Very pixely, digital, and very retro-futuristic. That's the styling on the IONIQ 5. Welcome back to the show. I promised you that review. I've been teasing that right through the episode, so let's get straight to it. The IONIQ 5, the first dedicated EV from Hyundai Motor. A new era in mobility as the entire automotive world's focus shifts to battery electric vehicles. And after hearing about everyone's plans for BEVs, now we are seeing the products. And they're credible, capable, and clever. The car a lot of people are talking about, in particular all over the world, is the Hyundai IONIQ 5. The retro modern looks, the large airy cabin, the obvious tech, and terrific performance make this a very strong player on the EV stage globally. I am very excited to test this car in Germany as part of my duties on the jury for G-Coti, or German Car of the Year. I am happy to report that the IONIQ 5 has already bagged the award in the New Energy subcategory. That also means it is a finalist for the overall honor of 2021 G-Coti. The car looks absolutely superb. I loved its retro looks at first sight, and yet they are still finished off in a very contemporary design style. And while its proportions may fool you into thinking it's a small car, it is bigger than a Creta and even the Tucson. Now, of course, it's a modern look, but there's something very digital about it in some senses. Just the way you look at it, you also get absolutely no sense of any prior Hyundai model. Also, none of the prior IONIQ models either. Well, to be fair, Hyundai says the design is inspired by its very first car, the Pony, from the mid-70s. But I just don't see it. The pixel look taillights, the sexy LED signature for the lights up front, and the sharp cuts and angles in the side flanks are a very specific look that the IONIQ 5 boasts. But it is the cabin that really gets a lot of attention. Two large 12.3-inch screens combine to form the majority of the dash and give the car a sexy display panel. The graphics and quality of that screen are excellent. A lot of the info layout and functionality is identical to the screens on the Kia EV6. And that's no surprise because they are twins in some ways. But the IONIQ 5 has a larger cabin. The screens are standard across all variants. Connectivity and smartphone charging options abound, and the cabin feels nice and techy overall. The layout is almost Scandinavian in its minimalism, and the quality of the seats, materials, and overall cabin are top-notch. I am very impressed. The central console between the front seats can slide backwards to offer more space for storage. The IONIQ 5 has three broad variants in terms of its powertrain options. The rear-wheel drive variant has a single 125 kilowatt motor and a 58 kilowatt-hour battery, 168 bhp and 350 Nm of torque, and a drive range of 384 kilometers. The more powerful variant is the 72.6 kilowatt-hour with 215 bhp and a whopping 480 kilometers drive range. And then there's the all-wheel drive with two motors, with 605 Nm of peak torque, 235 to 300 bhp options, and the range, well, it starts at 360 kilometers. On the road, the car feels bigger than the Kia EV6, even though they are similar in terms of the actual dimensions. And the main reason is a marginally bigger wheelbase. So while performance is not as sporty, it is still very good. Put it into sport mode and the character changes right away. Yes, it all stiffens up. You have a nicer, tighter steering feel. And of course, it goes faster. The response is definitely a lot quicker. It gives you a sense of urgency which you really want when you want to put it into sport mode. that yes, I'm ready for performance. Yes, the upcoming IONIQ 3 and 4 will be a hoot if this is anything to go by. And can we expect any of this to come our way? Yes, Hyundai is studying the feasibility of launching this car as a niche flagship offering in India, one that would play the role of brand shaper more than anything else. And don't forget, Hyundai is one of the few brands to at least launch a proper global EV in India when it gave us the Kona Electric. So I do hope the IONIQ 5 makes it sooner than later to the Indian market. There is already one on static display at Hyundai India's headquarters. The main thing that excites me about the IONIQ 5 is how far Hyundai has come and the sheer strength of the company's capability. So, here's hoping. Now, it was a bit of a treat for our World Car jurors to get a chance to experience the IONIQ 5 here in the US because the market launch hasn't yet happened, and yet Hyundai was kind enough to bring the pre-production prototype to this drive event. So a lot of us have been spending a lot of quality time with the car. For me, the additional advantage was to be able to drive it on twisty mountain roads, and its performance was nice and surprising in a positive way. Please react to the IONIQ 5. Do you think we should get it in our market? What does it tell you about where the company is going with its technology, design, and its future with electric vehicles? Talk about all of that with me. You know, you can reach me on Twitter at @SidPartner. And remember, if you missed any of this review, it is on our website, carandbike.com, or on our YouTube channel, that is youtube.com/carandbike. I will have more from you from the LA test drives. You got to keep tuned to that, and promise me you'll wear your seatbelts front or back, your helmets front or back. Bye-bye.